Hello, my name is Lysander Xanthus, and today I'm doing something a little different. This is my first Q&A video where I'm doing a video dedicated to a topic. Today's topic is relationships and all the different forms it comes in, such as twin flames, soulmates, true love, and whatever other form of love relationship. Hello, Miscilla. And I chose this topic because obviously a lot of people ask questions about love in their readings, and so this is something that comes up often, and I've kind of basically done the discussion and Q&A thing in my reading videos before, but I thought I would dedicate a video for that. I may do like a few mini readings, although that's not the focus of this video, and any that I do today would be about this topic only. I'd only be answering questions about the video topic. Yes. So I'm going to kind of wait a moment while people join us. Obviously this video is for you to ask whatever you want to know about it. Mini reading examples would be asking about your own soulmates, or if you have a twin flame, etc. So I'll kind of explain my personal point of view of these things in a moment. I'd really like to emphasize that everything I share is just my perspective and opinion based on my experiences. Thank you for sharing, Miscilla. I appreciate that. So just whatever is useful, whatever sits right in your gut, take that. Don't mind the rest. I know there's a lot of different opinions about these subjects, and I know that mine do differ from popular perspectives in some regard. So I'm not here to make anyone wrong. I'm just giving my own perspective, how things have appeared to me as a reader and someone who's been in a few relationships and known a lot of other people in different kinds of relationships. I hope everyone is doing well today, by the way. Excuse me. Hope everyone's doing well today. I'm doing well. I'm just having my coffee. Oh, great. Miss Alyssa, she's great. This is good. All right, it looks like some more people are joining us. Thank you for the compliment, Erin. All right, so I think I will start just by kind of explaining my point of view. And hello, Michelle. And you guys feel free to jump in anytime with just comments, questions. This is meant to be very conversational. And again, to people who weren't here earlier, I'm open to doing select mini readings, but they will be answering only questions related to the topic of the video. All right, so twin flames. Twin flames and soulmates come up a lot in readings, as obviously relationships are a popular reading topic, which is understandable because they're, if not the most important, one of the most important aspects of our lives. We have to live with other people, so wanting insight about them and understanding how we are relating to each other is very important. So I'm going to talk about the subject and then we'll kind of go from there. So twin flames. Hello, Jessica. I'll kind of open things up for readings potentially in a bit. I'm doing well. Just kind of doing good. I have coffee. Twin flames. My perspective is that they are not common. Also, hold on a second. Talking is loud. Very loud, but it's okay. It's okay. My fiance is just talking very exuberantly to someone. I'm sorry. Twin flames. To me, they're uncommon and they reflect a very specific dynamic between two souls. That is really just the result of these two individuals being two parts of a like archetypal force or concept. I'm always trying to think of better ways to explain things. My best way that I found so far, hopefully I'll think of something better, is like twin flames are like a car and a driver with the key. Thank you, Jessica. The car, both parts are important. You need the car to get anywhere. But without a driver and their key, the car will just sit and rust. The driver with the key is obviously also important, but without a car, they can't get anywhere. So, they don't necessarily need to be together to function. They just both need to exist in the world. But because of that relationship, the relationship can be very intense. And there's like a strong, like deep understanding and a deep need or attachment. So, oh, hello, Sandra. Hello, Dan. Sometimes people can feel very overwhelmed by the intensity and back away from it. And I know that is sometimes referred to as the chaser and runner. One of the reasons I wanted to talk about soulmates and twin flames in this is that sometimes I feel that these labels are used frequently on relationships where someone is actually just being strung along, or the relationship is just unhealthy or toxic. And sometimes it can be those things, even if it is actually a twin flame and soulmate relationship. And I'll talk about that in a moment. But yeah, sometimes one of the partners runs because it's too intense or overwhelming. So not necessarily negative, it's just overwhelming to feel so vulnerable or connected. But the person wants to be with the other person. I am familiar with like two twin flame couples who are genuinely twin flamed. The one I'm very familiar with, though, there is definitely that example. They have been together virtually every lifetime, and different things occur that do keep them apart, but it's external things not either the partners kind of giving the other person the runabout. And sometimes the past lives can be a bit relevant because all souls have a tendency to repeat patterns, or they kind of get into the same sort of situations, but we'll save that for the past life discussion, which is in a few weeks. Check out my events on my page for that. But obviously, since all souls do this, this does happen in twin flame dynamics as well, where it is usually the same kind of external events happening to bring people apart. Like in the example of this couple, in a past life, because of the one who is a man in that lifetime, because of social status and his responsibilities as someone of the upper class, he had to marry someone else. Because the person who was female in that lifetime was like a servant. Even though they were actually in love and wanted to be together, it was like that. And of course, it ended very poorly that time around. And this lifetime, something similar happened where the same partner in this lifetime felt compelled to be with someone else because of obligation or social status, even though in our modern era there's the same sense of nobility and the responsibility of like a lord to his people doesn't really exist, at least in modern America. But in spite of that, the compulsion was still there, and so they were still separated by somewhat external circumstances and that pattern, and the feelings were just as intense as if it were the prior situation. And it was actually the same person that came between them, which is just something else completely. We have a comment from M. She says, "Thank you for this discussion. You're welcome. I've always wondered the difference between a twin flame and a soulmate. I've been told I met one of my soulmates, and I'm like, there's more than one? So thanks for this discussion." Yes, we'll get to soulmates in a moment, but yes, there are multiple. Hello, Brenda. I'm well. I hope you are well. Clinton says, "I feel I found my twin flame." Well, I will open the video to some mini readings later on for people who are wondering about the relationships in their lives. Also, I tend to eat during my videos, just as like a heads up. I'm only halfway through breakfast. Okay, so twin flames, result of that dynamic, and it's really the core structure of your souls on a spiritual level. Because of that, not everyone has a twin flame. Honestly, I think that's probably a good thing because of their depth and intensity, and the kind of issues that tend to crop up with that relationship. I don't have one. I'm relieved, honestly. For those of us who do have a twin flame, obviously you only have one, because it's kind of your two sides of a coin, your two polarities of a single nature or cosmic force. I'm trying to think of like an example. So like it would be like a couple deep down, who their souls are and what energy they're composed of is like one partner is the ability for people to, it's like they are what inspires people to be free or to feel like they're not free. And the other partner is like the ability to execute or act on that inspiration, whether it's to be free or not free. So it's like one is inspiration, the other is action. I don't know if that like makes sense. I'm trying to think of how to articulate those two sides. I haven't had the opportunity to observe like tons of twin flame relationships. I have read a lot of people, so the two that I know of, I'm intimately familiar with them. And most people I read for don't have them. Yes. The female, however you want to perceive that, the feminine half, tends to be the inspiration, or like the desire or energy or will, and the male, masculine half is like the ability for that will to take form, to be acted on. Yeah. So there's that similarity. I'm sure that the nuances of my perspective will change the more people I get to know and the more relationships I have the opportunity to observe. But the ones that I do know, I've been aware of them for like more than 5 years. So yes. I don't know if that clarifies things for anybody. That's just what I have personally observed. There's just a few points that I'd like to make about twin flames that apply to soulmates as well. Again, sometimes the term is applied to relationships that are just toxic or have like an unhealthy dynamic. And most of the time they're not actually twin flames. So it's just like a problematic reason to perpetuate a relationship. Sometimes someone who's trying to take advantage of someone or hurt their partner will use it as a way to manipulate them. Like, oh, well, we have to be together because we're twin flames, and if it doesn't work out between us, you're screwed and you'll never be happy. And also, I'll never be happy and it'll be your fault. So I just want people to know that there's always a choice. And sometimes the relationship can be happy even though the person actually is your twin flame. And just because someone is your twin flame doesn't mean you absolutely have to or obligated to be in a romantic or sexual relationship with that person in this lifetime. So you're not being forced to be with them or even to love them. The point is just for the two of you literally to exist in the world at the same time, as like a balancing factor. There's a natural magnetism, but you don't have to be with them. And we have multiple soulmates because the universe wanted us to have multiple opportunities to be happy. So you're not doomed if things don't work out with your twin flame or a singular soulmate. The other point I want to make is that you can have an intense and deep relationship with someone even if they're not your twin flame. The last point is that the universe... Oh, excuse me. I keep feeling like I want to sneeze. Sandra says kind of like opposites attract. It's a little paradoxical because it's like opposites, but it's like two polarities of the same essence. So it's like being opposite, but not really also being the same thing. So it's kind of like yes and no. The universe doesn't really adhere to our ideas of what we consider a romantically viable partner. So the other thing to keep in mind is that if you have a twin flame, they could be incarnated as like anything, anywhere. They could be the same gender, the opposite gender. They could be much, much younger than you, much, much older. They could be incarnated on another plane or however it is you want to think of that. They could be incarnated as an animal or like a very old tree, just depending. There's a tendency for you to gravitate, so there's a good chance. Typically, they'll be close, but that's not always a guarantee. They could also be like in a totally different country. So there's a lot of things. It's just, I just say that because it has come up a few times. People ask about their twin flames, and they've actually had one, but like, for example, the person asking was like a middle-aged woman, and their twin flame was incarnated as a teen girl. So it's just something to keep in mind. So that is my perspective about twin flames. If you have any comments or questions, you're welcome to ask, and I'll give you guys a moment to do that. Otherwise, I'll move on to kind of discussing soulmates and those nuances. Thanks, love.
Well, I'm getting ready for Alex more than anything.
Yeah.
Looks like we're going to be able to get the folding mold delivered. So
great.
I think I'm just going to give her a little extra for time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry about being loud earlier. I was kind of annoyed at the computer situation.
It's okay. I'm just letting you know.
That I'm being loud?
Yeah.
Fair. I apologize.
Hello, Jagdish. Hello, Shamara. Hello, Eve. Welcome. I'm just giving myself a moment to finish this, and also giving everyone a moment to comment or ask questions about twin flames if they're so inclined. Would you guys prefer, I was going to make a wee bit of time for mini readings. I was just gonna like do them all at one time, but I could do them like subject by subject, like if you specifically wanted to ask about twin flames. I could do that now, or I could just do all of them later on. Also, let me say hello, Kitchen Witch.
Hello, everybody.
She just posted her video about her apple cider today, by the way.
Smells so good.
And I look forward to this drink every year, and have for like the 7 years I've known her. So it's a big deal to me.
The first batch of the season.
Yeah. So if you're interested in checking that out, it's a pretty good recipe. You're welcome, Sumera.
Are you taken care of? Do I need to make you something to eat?
Not at the moment. Just want to apologize in advance for not washing my dish.
Well, that's fine. There's a batch of things that need to be done up. I will take care of them in a bit. I'm trying to plan for Alex now so that I'm not hurrying to clean up when he gets here.
Mm-hmm.
He's not supposed to be here for a few hours, but I don't want to get engrossed in work or something and then forget. So I'm trying to think it through now.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since I'm going to have to go in and completely redo everything and put our old computer back in, so.
Yeah.
So it's going to take me a couple hours to get things fixed again. What else do I need?
So the recipe, it's on her Facebook page, The Kitchen Witch. But I did share that video to my page, where you guys are now as well. All right. right, thank you. Let's see. I'm reading the questions. Eve asked, we have several soulmates. Have I met mine? I'm going to talk about soulmates in just a moment. I finished kind of giving my 2 cents about twin flames. Jessica says, I love a reading, but I love hearing what you want to talk about. Thanks. What happens when you are in separation until reconciliation? That is a fair question. So we will revisit Eve's question while discussing soulmates. So yeah, let's go ahead and just address things about twin flames for a second. I'm not going to pick a ton of people, probably like read for 1 or 2 and answer a few questions. So we are asking, in terms of twin flames, what happens when you are in separation and until reconciliation? There's definitely a bit of a back and forth depending on circumstances. Reconciliation is not a guarantee, unfortunately. During separation, the 2 individuals will tend to just kind of go about their lives, but the other person will kind of be in the back of the mind, assuming that they are aware of each other in that lifetime. And there will always be a drawback, but reconciliation probably won't occur unless one of them makes the plunge and reaches out, or circumstances push them back together again. I suspect that there's a way for that cycle to not have to occur. Either being pulled apart by external circumstances or the other things that cause separation. Both individuals kind of need to be on the same page and open themselves and be vulnerable to that connection because of its overwhelming, intense nature, and to pair together. Sorry, it's okay. Which is typically difficult without at least some awareness. There's just so many things, not just spiritually, but on a like ego level or mortal personality level, that can get in the way. So in a way, it's not different from other relationships in that it takes work and both partners being open, aware, and willing to be emotionally vulnerable and connect in that way, and learn how they are designed to work together and to need each other. It is a relationship of extreme need, and that's what really causes separation, ironically, because of the intense need for each other. And my coffee is cold again.
I'll take care of it in a minute.
Thank you.
Did you tell them about our friends?
Yes.
Crazy.
Very. I didn't really go into depth. Yes. It is also possible to live apart happily enough. Usually that's easier when you're not aware of each other in the incarnation. I didn't get into depth. I just said that I knew a couple and... Oh no. Oh, there we go. We're back. I didn't go into the details of the kind of back and forth. It's like a several decade saga in this incarnation. I did talk about how there's kind of like repeating cycles from past lives and such.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just an interesting example of what happens in the interim. You know, in the case of them, he had 2 kids and she got married, and I mean, life went on.
Yeah, life still goes on. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Life still goes on.
But I mean, they reconnected almost 2 years ago after 10 years of not speaking to each other. Crazy.
Yeah. There's a high chance of always being drawn back together. But that is what I suspect it takes to break the cycle. They have been kind of working on that very slowly, because the 2 years they have been together, this time is the longest they have ever had contact. In the past, it's literally been like, even though they've known each other so long, actually being in each other's presence, it's like a day or a few hours at a time. It's just crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. I hope that kind of answers your question. That's really what it comes down to. Separation happens because needing another person that deeply is profoundly overwhelming. And it takes a lot of strength and trying to do so, to accept it and to integrate into it. But it is possible to integrate and to not do the separate together cycle anymore.
Yeah. It takes a lot of work, though.
Yeah.
A lot of compromise.
Yeah, I was saying, it's not different from other relationships in that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Both partners have to be willing. And so that's why I'm kind of like, even if they are your twin flame, if they aren't healthy, like, I mean, you guys are smart, you know what healthy and toxic is, then it doesn't matter. You shouldn't invite chaos into your life for someone who isn't going to try to meet you halfway, no matter what your spiritual bond is. So, I think someone else had asked something about twin flames. I'm trying to remember. Okay, it doesn't look like there was anything. Okay, so if you guys are good, I mean, I'm not like closing the subject, I'm just gonna move on and talk about additional things. So I'm gonna talk about soulmates. You guys are still welcome to ask questions about whatever. It doesn't matter what part of the video we're in. You guys can ask about whatever comes to mind. So I guess I'll make time as we go and at the end for questions and readings. So soulmates. We have multiple. Again, the universe wanted to give us multiple opportunities for happiness, and because in this world we were definitely created to need each other, or to have an interdependency to a degree. So your soulmates are other souls that have a similar energetic composition. A really basic example is like you all are made of water, the element water. So you naturally gravitate and have a natural affinity and understanding of each other. The other thing is that typically you may not have the same destiny, but all your destinies are kind of in the same direction, same general pathway. And so we all belong to soul groups. There are different opinions about how many. I think it's 9. And so there's your core group of 9, where you have the most energetic similarity and your destinies most align the same direction. Or sometimes they are even centered around the same kind of purpose. Soul groups do overlap. There's some intermingling, so you could say that there are larger soul clusters may comprise of several groups, and so a soul group and clusters tend to incarnate together through their lives. Sometimes they can incarnate kind of distantly or in drastically other places, but it's not too common. So again, your soulmates may not necessarily incarnate as romantically or sexually viable partners. A few of them probably will, just because of all of them, there's just a good chance of that. But they could also be like a good friend, a sibling, or someone that you feel really close to. And typically souls, they'll incarnate and they will fulfill several different, they will live through different kinds of relationships to each other. So someone you're in love with now could have been like a sibling in a past life or a friend or whatever. Not to make it weird, that's just kind of how it plays out generally. So I feel like that's actually a pretty simple, straightforward thing. Some things I'd like to say is, again, you don't have to be with someone in a relationship just because they are your soulmate, and sometimes that's not really what you're supposed to be doing this time around. If someone isn't your soulmate, it doesn't mean that you can't have a deep and fulfilling love with them. And that's because I strongly feel that love is always a choice. We have free will. So you can choose to share a true love with anyone, regardless of the existence of a deeper spiritual connection or not, because of that. And sometimes we can come across soulmates, and it's kind of like twin flames, where sometimes we apply the word soulmate to someone as a means either to justify to ourselves staying in a relationship that's not good for us, or the other person can use it as a means of manipulating us and staying with them. And again, it's that kind of thing of like, oh, well, you have to stay because if you leave, then you'll be alone forever and you ruined it because we're soulmates or twin flames or whatever. Like, we can either tell ourselves this, or the other person can tell us this, or sometimes even other people can tell us that. And it's not helpful, and it's not true. Often, the person isn't a soulmate, so it's just kind of like keeping you entrapped. But even if they are, again, you're not obligated to be with them just because you are soulmates. Often, in fact, when that occurs where you are soulmates and there's this like weird, unhealthy thing, it's like yet another opportunity to make a different choice this time, or to do things differently this time and resolve an old issue in your soul, or between your soul and theirs, or however you want to look at it. And sometimes that's why it can feel so difficult or almost impossible to stay away from a person, or to not be involved with them, or to have such intense feelings keeping you from making the choice that's healthy for you because of that deep pattern at times. And sometimes it's just lots of pressure or ideas. Yeah. So I know some of this sounds kind of bleak or not like very fun. It's not a very fun way of looking at it. On the other hand, of course, us meeting your soulmate and them being romantically viable and being in a relationship with them is incredibly fulfilling. And the same thing with the twin flame. If you guys can put in the work and compromise and be in a good relationship, is a unique dynamic and experience of itself, and it can be very good. The main inspiration of this video is because this comes up a lot, and I do see people kind of staying in these very damaging situations because of these ideas, whether it's true or not. Even if it's true, it's not a justification for someone treating you poorly. And when it's not true, it's just even worse, because they're abusing the idea of a spiritual bond to hurt someone. So, that is generally what I have to say about soulmates. Again, if anyone has comments, questions, I'd be happy to address them. I believe Eve earlier was asking, she said, I have met mine, question mark. I'll connect to your energy real quick and see if I can pinpoint like one or two people. But for the most part, all of us have met at least one, because we tend to kind of incarnate near each other, even if you're not like literally surrounded by them. Over the course of your life, you're kind of like guaranteed to have come across at least several, whether they were friends or romantic interests or whatever. So I'm looking at your energy and connecting to you. And I'm seeing the soulmates you're connected to. Half of them kind of light up to me and they look a lot like you. So, at least on a spiritual soul level, there's like an intense similarity, and probably being feminine in nature, having a feminine energy. But as far as people presently around, I see like two men on either side of you. At first I thought it was like maybe two female friends, but I think that they're male. So I feel like you've probably known them for at least a little while. They're both friends presently in your life. I feel some attraction or draw to one over the other. Trying to see if I can pick out some detail that would kind of like specify who they are. This energy appears dark, but it's more of a, because he's a stern, protective individual, and I see you as like being cradled in his arms. So it's someone very protective, maybe like super ultra too much so, but you don't mind it. So there's like a very deep trust there in leaning on this person. It's even possible that you like, to me, I would, if I was just going off of it, it feels like you're currently in a relationship with one. So that's what I see. Hopefully that makes some sense to you. The other one is like just a male friend. We have a comment from James. Oh, that's the mailman talking. I'm just like, who is that? Okay. James says, I'm glad you were covering this. I am separated from my wife at 10 years for over a year now, and I believe we are soulmates. So many things have torn us apart. Is there any way you can tell me if she really is a soulmate or not? If not, have I met a soulmate yet? Okay. I will look real quick, and then I'm going to move on to the next topic, which is true love. My favorite. So again, we have all encountered soulmates just because we have multiple, and we tend to just be drawn to each other matter of course. Hello, Tina. So that's just kind of like an automatic yes. So I'm going to connect to you and through you, your wife, and see if there's a pre-existing spiritual bond. And you're welcome. Okay, so I'm looking at your energy. I'm connecting to her. So I see you on one side and her on the other side. And behind you, I'm seeing like this energy that is in the shape of her behind you and this string, and it suggests that you're kind of carrying around an idea of who she used to be, a negative, like emotional attachment to who she was and how things happened and so on, and that's kind of like following you around, and that's shown as a distinct entity separate from her. And I feel like that she does feel that way, that you don't really see her as she is now. So it's just something to be aware of, so at the very least you can unburden yourself of that baggage, because it's like this cluster of emotions attached to you. Hello, Carol. Not sure what her comment means. Tina, Roxanne, Kirigana, Eve. It's just my impression rely on your gut feeling. Just asking straight out if you guys are soulmates. I'd say there's a pre-existing spiritual bond, but it's like I view that we have a tighter, smaller cluster of like direct soulmates, and a lot of these smaller groups overlap into like a greater cluster. I'd say that you guys are like in a cluster, like in adjacent soul groups. So technically, it's kind of like a mate, kind of. So no, not a soulmate technically, but still part of like the same greater pool that turns up over and over again. You have run into each other in different capacities throughout your past lives. But again, love is a choice, so in spite of that, you can still have a relationship there. It's just like with any relationship, it's work and figuring out between the two of you. So that's what I sense. I hope that helps. Hey Carol, thanks for the clarification. Because my relationship is twin flame, I don't think so. I was told it was mimic love. I've not heard that particular term before. So I'd love it if you could share with all of us about mimic love. Let's see. I do see people asking their questions about twin flames and soulmates. Mimic love. Carol says many past lives. I assume your meaning is that mimic love is a term referring to what happens when souls happen to interact with each other through many past lives. So there's an attachment for that reason. And in your reincarnation, that draw or remembrance can be mistaken for a deeper spiritual bond and love. That's what I would kind of derive from that. So I'm just asking for that clarification if that was your meaning. You're welcome, James. If I had to think of it, that's what I would think it's a reference to, because I have seen examples of that as well. Where the individuals were not soulmates, they didn't belong to the same pool, their destinies were intertwined. The only attachment was that one person had like taken part of his energy and like created a shackle on the other person because they didn't want to let them go. They were very possessive. So they actually incarnated through several lives together, and the person who trapped the other was actually separated from their own soul pool because they wanted to attach themselves to this other person. So the person who was trapped essentially had come to see me because there's a lot of confusing feelings. So that's what comes to mind. Maybe she'll let us know if that's what she means. So I've seen a few cases of that. Right. I'm trying to wonder if I should answer these other questions or save it. Let's just go ahead and answer them. No one minds, right, if we go ahead and answer things before moving on. Tina Rose asks, I'm wondering if I will ever find love again from a soul star. Would you please let us know what a soul star is? All these terms. We are here to learn today, including me, so please let me know what you mean. We can all find love again. Because love is a choice, because we were given the gift of free will and the gift of love. So love is a choice. I know it can definitely feel like it's not. But we can choose to build a love and a relationship with someone. Let's see. Roxanne says, let's see. Carol elaborates many regressions, and he was always a love interest husband. Well, that is very interesting. She says, I give up. Well, that's very unfortunate. Soul Star, Twin Flame, a spiritual healer, a match. Yes. Okay, I understand Tina's question a bit more. I want to just conclude for Carol. It is unfortunate that you feel that way, regardless of the nature of your spiritual bond with another person. If it's not like healthy or for your best good, it's not a reason to persist in it if it's going to hurt you. And no matter who it doesn't work out with, there is always the opportunity to love again and to have a love that is worthwhile and deep and fulfilling. Tina Rose, so you're asking about twin flames. Not everyone has one. If you do have one, there is only one. But if it doesn't work out with that one, it doesn't mean that you're doomed. There's still opportunities for happiness and to be happily mated. Hello, Debbie. Welcome. Roxanne says, have I cleared out all my love attachments on this plane? I find them very painful. The lessons are so debilitating. I'm going to connect to your energy real super quick. I'm sensing from your energy that a lot, the relationships you've been through kind of reflect patterns of wounds you have within yourself. So while you still have a few relationship cords, if it's something you've been working on, you've been successful in removing your attachment to the people, but they're not really the core of the problem. It's that there's this baggage you're holding onto within yourself that kind of causes you to be drawn to the same type of situation over and over. While it's possible you may have engaged in those kind of relationships with someone who happened to be a soulmate, I would say that it's not really like an issue pertaining to soulmates or a twin flame. I mean, obviously, I think you know this, but it's just there's some healing on the inside that needs to be done. There's like a dark energy around the neck and shoulders, and to me that primarily points to feeling suppressed, like it's just this overwhelming feeling like you don't deserve to be as important as the other person in your relationships, feeling like you don't have the right to speak up or to have the feelings you have, feeling like every relationship is a burden, feeling like you're obligated to carry the other person or to do everything for them. And there's a strong sense of just not being deserving. You do deserve to be loved in a genuine way. And you deserve to have a good and healthy relationship in your life, but you need to know that for yourself. So I hope that little tidbit helps. Hello, Rem. All right, we are going to move on to the next topic. topic. Again, feel free to continue to comment and ask questions as we go along. So, true love. Is kind of an interesting subject because I do consider it as separate from all the other things. Obviously, you can have true love with a soulmate or a twin flame, but you can have true love with someone who isn't either of those things as well. True love is definitely an active choice. True love doesn't just happen spontaneously, at least spiritually speaking. You're welcome, Roxanne. Love is a choice, and true love is absolutely a choice. And it's like an act of your will to engage in that kind of relationship with another soul. So typically, it's two souls who have decided to, this is going to sound real cute, maybe a little woo-woo even for us, the heart, the part of the soul or energy that is the heart, two souls decide to exchange a part of their heart core with each other energetically at some point during their existence. So they, on a deep level, they share like a core essence of the other individual. So spiritually seeking, that is what constitutes true love. It's just like this choice to be, making the active choice to be deeply connected and embedded in each other.
Hey, sweetie.
Hi.
Did you need something?
No, I just love you.
I love you. I got the old computer hooked up.
Yeah.
I've got it hooked up with the new monitor and keyboard and everything, so at least it'll work better.
Yeah. I love you so much. I'm talking about true love.
About true love? You mean like you and me?
Yes. We have true love. It's not super common just because most people or souls don't choose to go around doing that, because it's a pretty intense thing to choose to do, to like extract an essential part of your energy and give it to someone. So that's like an ancient thing that our souls did a very long time ago. True love, it is true what they say, true love is the most powerful force in the world. Love is the most powerful, but true love is just like love squared. Thank you, Rem. I'm trying to think about what to say about it practically, like what it's like, or how do you tell if you do happen to run across that person, or the effect it has.
So I would say the principal things are a deep sense of knowing the person when you meet them for the first time. There's always that, that thing you get with soulmates where you're like, don't I know you? With true love, it's when I met you, love, it was the like distinct sense of not, gosh, this person seems so familiar. It was, I know this person. I know them so well, they don't even know themselves. It's like an overwhelming sense of knowing someone. And when we first met, we actually met very briefly, and then we didn't see each other again for weeks. And I actually could not stop thinking about you.
Yeah.
It was like impossible. And keeping in mind, I was engaged to be married to someone else at this point.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a unwanted and unexpected amount of
True love really does trump all, including circumstance and the way that you've set up your life so far.
I think a lot of it is also how deeply we changed each other's lives from the moment we decided to start spending time together. With twin flames, you learn lessons from each other. And in the case of like the two of us in true love, we changed each other. We deeply changed everything about who we were, everything. We found our highest potential because we were together.
Yeah.
And not because we pushed each other to do it, but because we felt naturally inclined to do it.
It has been pretty intense, honestly. I am absolutely not the person I was 7 years ago.
No, not in any way.
Not in any way. Everything has changed, and it was hard. But it's kind of like going through like deep personal change because of the love one feels and knowing that it's necessary for the sake of the other person and to hold on to that love. And like since our meeting practically, we've been attached at the hip. And this is really saying something because she was not only engaged, but she was married to someone else, and we were attached at the hip even as friends. We saw each other every single day for the last 7 years. We've not really been apart.
Yeah, I think the longest we've been apart is 2 days, where we have not seen each other.
Yeah.
In 7 years, we've been apart maybe 2 days at the most. Yes, I would say that's saying something.
Yeah.
We have like zero desire to ever spend time away from each other.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as getting tired of being around you.
I've timed myself. When she goes out and do things, my limit is about 4 to 6 hours. Then I'm like, I'm done being away from you. I miss you.
Yeah. I go to visit my brother, and I'll get a message 3 to 4 hours into my trip. You ready to come home yet? I'm like, I'm supposed to be spending the night. No.
Obviously, I enjoy some time alone, but like. An hour.
With too much love.
So, Rem comments, a lot of give and take, shedding the old self.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say far more than what would be expected or seen in any other type of relationship. It's a very extreme version of that.
Come together to evolve together. Yeah. Everyone really is in love with our relationship, but honestly, no one has any idea
how hard it was.
How hard it was. So
it's actually like a funny thing. Like friends of ours have actually told us that they're more in love with our relationship than they are in their own partners. So when the two of us fight, it like hurts their feelings.
Yeah. People have no idea though.
No, they really they don't know what the.
It's like even trying to explain. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of change that took place. It's just like no one, probably no one would have tolerated the amount of turmoil that occurred.
Love doesn't come easy, whether you're soulmates or twin flames or true love. True, deep, lasting spiritual connection is earned, not discovered.
No matter what kind of relationship you're in, you have to put in the effort. I'm not going to say necessarily that it's always suffering and hard work.
Well, it's always hard work, but it's not suffering.
It's like stretching. There's a lot of stretching.
Yourself. It's letting a lot go. It's being able to be flexible, to move.
Yeah.
But that is hard. Oh, the cider's going good.
That just applies to all relationships, though. All right. I think eventually I'll think of a better way to describe that, but I know of very few examples of that exchange.
What, the true love thing? Just you and I, really.
Well, and the great the king and queen.
I was gonna say, there's some legends and mythologies you could probably lean on.
Yes.
Like Ganesha and his mouse.
Yes.
Which is like a really weird example, but it's a true example.
I think I'll leave it at that for now. I think I need time to kind of ruminate on it. Let's see. Someone's got Girgana. Is it possible after the topic of true love to answer the question I asked before? Let's scroll up. I did see a comment. I must have just blanked on addressing it. Oh, yes. Girgana asks, is my twin flame here on Earth now? I'm going to address that real quick. While I do that, feel free to comment or ask questions about true love or anything we've talked about so far. And after answering her question, I'll address all of that as well as moving on with the subject.
Just fussing that company card.
I feel an intense longing from you for someone out there. So I definitely have addendums to the answer. As I explained earlier, most of us don't have a twin flame because it's a kind of rare thing based on a specific dynamic. So I don't feel that you are one half of a cosmic polarity. Obviously, we all have multiple soulmates, so there are multiple chances for your happiness out there. For you, what will help you be open to a new and lasting love in your life is that there is an intense feeling of loneliness that emanates from you. And it's almost like this clutching sensation of reaching out and clutching. So there's possibly a penchant for grabbing onto the first opportunities that come your way, and sometimes repeating the same kind of bad relationships or things not working out because of that, because it comes from that I kind of lost my train of thought. It kind of just perpetuates that deep loneliness. So it is hard, but you'll need to try to exercise the patience and discernment to wait for someone who is worthy of your affections. You deserve to be with someone who's going to treat you well and who is as interested and serious about a commitment as you are. And it's not easy to go through the process of opening up and building that foundation, but for a love that's truly going to fulfill you in that way, that's what it will take. I find that love tends to work out better when we don't look for it, it finds us when it's right. So I would focus on yourself and learning to fill your own emptiness for yourself, and to find fun and joy in your life, and then you will attract someone who's attracted to your happiness and to the way that you live. And that is better, when someone is attracted to you for who you are, rather than because they know you're looking for someone. Hello, no smile. Rem, I am doing readings today, but specifically about answering questions related to the topics in this video, like people asking about their soulmates or their relationships and so on. Tina says, I have been what I would call unlucky, and I feel I may not ever find the one that is true and good for me. I feel as though it's kind of like Girgana. Hopefully I said that right. It's better to invest your effort into yourself and to look within to fill those gaps rather than without, and to focus on your own personal growth and giving yourself love and nurturing and joy in your life. And will change the kind of person you tend to attract and change the way you relate to them and the dynamic of the relationship that unfolds from that place, and to not look for love, but to be with yourself and be in your life. And the right kind of love tends to find us rather than us hunting it down. All right. You're welcome, Girgana. Again, you deserve your own love and a relationship that is healthy and loving. Girgana says, I thought each of us has a twin flame. I know that what I say contradicts that. Obviously, in the end, you need to trust your own gut feeling. But what I've experienced and observed is that it's very rare, and that it's a result of very specific dynamic and soul composition. So most of us do not. And generally, I think that is a good thing. Because in a twin flame relationship, as I said earlier, but I'll go ahead and explain very briefly again. The two individuals are two polarities of a singular cosmic archetype or force. And it's like a one half, one partner is the inspiration of a quality or archetype, and the other one is the ability to act upon it or to manifest it into being. And another analogy is that it's like a car and a driver. You need both to at least exist for the cosmic archetype to function. Just because someone is your twin flame, you don't have to be with them. It's just, that's the dynamic. And it's because of that relationship, part of what makes it so overwhelming is the intense need because you both need to exist. So I know that differs, and that it's commonly put out there that everyone has one. I have just not personally found that to be the case after reading for hundreds of people. I don't have one. And based on talking with people, the few people I know who do have them, and other people's accounts of what they're like, I'm relieved. Ren, I appreciate your request, but I probably won't be able to get to that during this video. Right. So, the other things I wanted to at least mention in the video are the idea of like soul contracts, other types of spiritual relationships, and just relationships in general. So again, if you have questions about any of those things, feel free to ask them. If you have questions about anything we've already talked about, ask them. That's what we're here to do today. Also, I will take a quick moment to remind everyone I do offer private and paid readings, so if anyone is interested in readings, feel free to message me directly anytime. Donations are like completely optional. We're just here to have a discussion, but for anyone who would like to donate or support me in that way, you can do so through my PayPal link in the description of this video. Now, about soul contracts and similar relations. Rem, thank you. Thank you. So, again, my experience and opinion, based on my own experiences and reading for so many people, does differ again from what's commonly purported. So, just know that it's just my perspective. No one has to believe what I believe. It's a common idea that before we incarnate, you like get together with your soul team or whoever, and you draw up contracts or agreements or whatever to fulfill certain roles in each other's lives, and you essentially plan your life out for whatever. And there's some difference in opinion of whether or not we follow the plan exactly or free will still applies. I don't agree with that, to be honest. That is the case. It is true for some people. I only disagree with that being what happens with absolutely everyone, like everyone is doing that. So I'm not saying that it doesn't occur. I just know that it's just not the case for literally everyone. I wouldn't say that for most of us, that is not what occurs. But soul contracts are real and they do happen. I think that's probably something for something I'll probably get into in the past life Q&A video. Kind of like, why do we reincarnate? Why do we go through stuff? What really happens there? So I won't get into it too much. What I found is for the people that did make an arrangement with a team or with other individuals for their incarnation. Oh my goodness, thank you. Found a cat whisker. Don't know how well you can see that. I like to keep the whiskers. Alright, let's just set that down right here. Um, Usually these are individuals who've been sent by specific groups of entities to spread certain information or teachings. Sometimes people are sent down here for specific lessons or to learn a certain thing, and the level of control is very individual. There are some cases where everything is planned out, like you're gonna go here and do this thing and things are gonna happen this way to help you get it done. And that's usually people who are there to actually on a mission. They're not there because they're there to learn something. Other people, sometimes they're just inserted in a specific situation, like born in this socioeconomic class or as this gender or whatever, and from there on out there's no contracts, no planning. It's just like put here, and it's on the soul to kind of figure things out or develop in the way that they're intended to. So a contract, only contracts I've seen are people who are like sent down here to kind of fulfill the will of a higher power in spreading a message or fulfilling a specific task. So I've not really seen contracts between people of like between two incarnated people. It's usually between an incarnated person and a higher power or disincarnate being. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I am always encountering more things I didn't know existed. Let's see, Roxanne Barker. That would be great. I was in a 10-year relationship and I watched the cord break. So this was a soul contract that ended, ? It was amazing to see it happen. So, that was a relationship cord. We all have them. And it's like whenever you build a relationship of any kind, it could be just like as casual as an acquaintance or as serious as like someone you've been in love with through several lifetimes. We all have relationship cords with people with whom we've developed any degree of emotional attachment, unless you like actively don't try to not bond with people. So I don't really view these as contracts. They're like it's energy connecting the two of you. That it's like the energy of the relationship and the emotions between the two of you, and it's literally just that, like an energetic attachment. And it breaking was probably a good thing for you, because when we're in relationships that are toxic or that are very negative or with negative people or that are very harmful to us or even to both people, dissolving those can stop the exchange of energy, because we're meant to bond with other people. It's the nature of our spiritual makeup. When you have the cords, whether it's with someone you love or someone you hate, that connection goes both ways. So the two of you, there's always some degree of energy exchange. There's not really anything in the cord that says you need to play out this situation or you owe each other this or that. The only time there's even like the nuances that is that it's just someone feeling entitled to the other person, which is not really the same thing. That's just them being weird and toxic. Yeah, no problem. Tina Rose asks, am I in a contract? You're okay, sweetie. So I'm going to focus on your energy real quick. The short answer is no. I do feel a like heaviness upon you. So I feel as though it's more as though you are feeling burdened emotionally or energetically by several of the relationships you've had. I feel even some of them may be past relationships or relationships with people who are deceased. Sometimes cords survive the reincarnation process. Sometimes they don't. But even you can still have cords to people you've been spoken to in like 10 years. Unless you've taken the time to either emotionally completely separate from them and to release all the baggage there, or have cut the cord, it'll still be there and you'll still feel the effects and that slight exchange of energy. So with you, I see you as being kind of burdened by some of your connections and relationships, but not like a contract in the typical understanding of like you have a pre-arrangement to do something specific for someone, or you're having someone specifically do something or play out something for you. For a while, I was doing healings that involved removing massive amounts of relationship cords from people. I don't openly offer that typically, just because there's like a lot of instructions that are necessary for the person being healed to follow. So unless they're willing to actually do those things, I typically won't remove cords, because you can actually really harm yourself if you don't follow the advice given after a removal. So thank you for asking about those things, actually, because that does bring up an important thing: relationship cords. Like I have already said, we all have them. We usually have multiple of them, and they generally look like thin little strings between you and the other person. Their appearance and color and energy varies depending on who it is. So sometimes they can be really thick if there's like a big connection, and they've looked like all different kinds of things to me, like wires, like string, rope, chains, tentacles, smoke, lightning. They've been every color, every size, really thin, almost non-existent, to like really large. Some are just like barely kind of touching, like, and some are really invasive, like it like connects and then it like spreads out like an enormous root system through the entire person. They can connect to all different parts of the body, so the cords can be like anywhere, or to different layers of the aura. Roxanne says, are they linked via the solar plexus? That's where I felt mine. They can. That's right, I was just explaining. They could be attached anywhere. They could even like attach to your energy. So not typically they attach directly to like your body or your spirit more directly, but I do see them kind of ending out in space around people sometimes. So anywhere. Definitely, solar plexus is common for people we are engaged in a romantic or sexual relationship with, or with our children, because that's like the same. Well, sacral is usually where children are attached sometimes because of the womb, or that's where the creative is. Anyway, yes, to your question, that definitely makes sense. And again, it was probably a good thing, because where a cord attaches says a lot about what effect that person has on us. So that relationship probably had a strong influence on your sense of personal power, your ability to sense or trust your gut instincts. So there's a chance it was probably a pretty disempowering relationship where you felt uncertain of yourself. So it's actually a really fascinating thing for me that I haven't really thought about in a while, because I haven't engaged in that specific energy work with anyone in a bit. There was a period like a year or two ago where I did removals for myself. I removed a lot of people. Roxanne says, yes, I got IBS afterwards. What is IBS? Forgive my ignorance. Just taking a moment. I'm talking a lot. Just taking a moment to breathe. Having cords removed can have all kinds of effects on you, good and bad, depending on the process overall and what one does afterward. It is possible for cords to reform. That's why I kind of don't readily offer that service anymore. Because it's like, no, really, you need to have like no contact with that person, otherwise the cord will reform and it will spiritually damage you in the process. And sometimes it's like people are hoping it'll like magically fix the relationship. Sometimes the relationship can actually improve with a removal, because it kind of like sweeps your slate clean, lets you start over. That's what you want to do. But it typically doesn't change the other person or fix the problem, so you can't just like have the cord cut and then hang out with them hoping it'll still all be good. Also, this is somewhat unrelated to the video topic, but it just as like a general FYI to all, if you're trying to separate yourself from someone energetically, it's not enough to not see them in person, because you can transfer energy through your phone, through the internet, through contact of any kind. Like, so for example, if you don't see them physically but you still talk over the phone or instant message through the internet, you're still connected and you're still inviting their energy in. So something I personally learned in an inconvenient way. So there's some helpful tidbit of information for anyone trying to do that and wondering why it's not working. If you're still talking to them or having contact virtually in any way at all, you're inviting them in, unless you are exercising extremely firm energy boundaries. Lisa Hip says, how do you actually know when a cord is cut if you intend to cut all cords? It's a little tougher to kind of cut all of them at once for a few reasons. Aaron asks, what color are my eyes? They are gray. They are a light gray. The way that they appear changes based on the lighting. And it's like the lightest eye color, which is why it's very easy for me to get headaches from sunlight, because it is too much light for my eyes. Thinking about Lisa's question. I don't know about cutting all the cords at once. I've not done it that way. I've gone one person at a time. Back in the day when I was doing this for others, back in the day, like a year or two ago, and for myself, I would ask them to write a list of the people they wanted to be separated from, and I would actually go in their energy and remove one person at a time. Which of course is tedious in a way, but it's a little more precise. It's not that I don't think intending to cut all at once doesn't work. I just think its effectiveness is based completely on how willful as a person you are. Because cutting a cord is just kind of like effectively disowning the person, or like kicking them out of your house, so to speak. So it really has to be a cut. I'll just describe how it feels when a cord has been successfully cut, because I think that really is the information being asked for. Yes, sometimes my eyes do look green, but they are gray. So when you've successfully removed a cord, one of the most telling things is that you feel a lot less or even nothing about the person anymore. And that's usually why I've recommended it in the past, because people are like tortured about toxic relationships they've been in. So I'm just like, hey, let's just wipe it out. And then it's either totally gone or a lot easier to deal with. So that's a sure way, is that you just don't feel as much. If you have a lot of feelings of obligation or compulsion to talk to them or connect with them, those will disappear when you cord cut. Sometimes it may not seem, you may not feel that, because the mind can kind of get in the way. Sometimes mentally, psychologically, we get really hung up on a person, or, that we're this way or we feel this way. So the compulsion is a mental habit. So even though it's been energetically cleared and you don't have the energetic emphasis behind your compulsion, you may still feel psychologically inclined. If you're very this happens more often if you're like a very intellectual or cerebral person, or if you are someone who's very set in their ways and doesn't believe in personal change. You'll probably have more issues with that going, but otherwise it's frequently immediate. You won't feel very much about them. Any sense of obligation or compulsion is gone. There is an adjustment period after a cord removal. For little cords, there's not really too much of a noticeable effect. It's just kind of like alleviating some weight from your energy. But like for big cords or intense relationships, over the next few days, it's important to take care of yourself, because mood swings are common. It's kind of like having a raw wound. You're a lot more irritable, or you may be more likely to lash out because you finally got this thing off of you. Something interesting I've noticed is that sometimes the person that you cut the cord with will make a sudden intrusion into your life, or attempt to do so within 2 weeks after the cord removal. That typically happens if the person you cut is like honestly really kind of crazy, because it's like subconsciously they sense like the separation. So they will try to reinsert themselves into your life or tempt you into reconnecting with them. So the best thing to do is just avoid them, which you should do anyway. What are other things I've observed? I feel like a huge weight has come off of you. Sometimes it can alleviate physical pain or like lift a depression. The list of potential results is very long and varied. So those are kind of like the most typical or noticeable things. Is just the change in how you feel about the person. So if thinking about them still upsets you, you may need to work on it a little more. Sometimes, depending on your method, you are successfully wearing the cord down. So it's not like a clean cut, it's just sort of like wearing it down, and eventually you separate. And sometimes going the slow way like that is healthier anyway, so it's not so abrupt or sudden. Sometimes it can be a bit of a shock to suddenly be detached. So that's how some ways you can know. Obviously, if you can see energy, then you can just see that it's gone. When I remove, so if you're looking at someone else, what you do is when you're looking at the person, you focus on the individual that they wanted removed and you key onto their energy in the person you're reading. So either the cord will turn up or it won't. For yourself, I used to sit and again I would key onto that individual's energy within my own energy. And I was able to see my own cords, or at least feel them, and whether or not they were there. There's a lot of ways of doing it. You can ask for a deity or angel or higher power to cut a cord for you if you're struggling. That can be pretty effective. Sometimes their ability to do so is somewhat affected or hindered by your genuine willingness to let the person go. I hope that answers the question. You're welcome, Tina. Okay. So, I guess just relationships generally. That's where we are. That's the last thing I'm about to kind of mumble at you about. Relationships as a great overarching subject, with a focus on romantic relationships, of course. So again, I invite all of you, if you have comments about anything I've said so far, or if you have questions about any of the topics so far, or questions about relationships generally, and love relationships, please ask. I really want to answer questions and so on. You're welcome, Lisa. And I would like to generally open us up for mini readings, but I'm only answering questions about relationships today. Any kind of relationship, with a kind of a focus on love and like romantic relationships, and of course the subjects in the video. So I'm not going to read for like a ton of people, but we're at that point in the video. It's been see I started at 11. It's been almost 2 hours, so I feel like we're doing pretty good on time. I really had no idea how long this would take because I haven't done a Q&A video before. So also I'd like to thank everyone for joining and participating. I feel like it's gone pretty well. So obviously you can do what you like, but I encourage you guys to follow my page, Lysander Xanthus, so you can keep updated about things I'm doing, which includes my mini reading videos, which are almost daily, and keep up with my page events. I have quite a few events right now, which are all Q&A videos like this about different subjects. And new moon and full moon candle rituals, which are live. Oh, my cat has something. I'm gonna go see what it is. No, sweetie. No, sweetie. So, can stay updated about when those are coming up by following the page or just looking at the events page. And so I don't remember what the next one is going to be about. I think next weekend is actually the new moon ritual. I'm not sure. What did I want to say about relationships generally? In a way, there's so much to say. But I have a hard time kind of discussing or going on about a topic on my own, which is why I decided to do the live Q&A, 'cause I kind of work better with a back and forth dynamic with you guys rather than just doing a pre-recorded video discussing all these subjects. Hey, sweetie. Hey, sweetie. No, let's not play with those. I'm sorry. So I guess I'll just kind of go over generally things about relationships. You all deserve to be in good, healthy relationships, engaged, love. A lot of us hold out on ourselves or don't allow ourselves to have good things, including people who treat us well. When it comes to a relationship, there's no obligation to be with someone. It's kind of like a weird thing. If you don't want to be there anymore, that is the only reason you need to not be there. And gosh, what else was I gonna say? Trust is important. A lot of times, it's a very frequent thing people wonder about their partner. In the end, it doesn't matter about if they are being truthful or not. If you don't trust them, that's really the real issue in the relationship, when there is distrust. So yeah. Well, again, I have a hard hard time kind of going on my own about topics because I feel so scattered, like there's so much to say. So I will let you guys have a minute to either request readings or ask questions. If I don't hear from anyone in like say over the next 5 minutes, I will conclude the video. So this is your time now. Carrie Winter says, I dream about and sometimes see things that aren't there at the moment, but then I see them really happen. Is that clairvoyance? I'll answer the question anyway, but I am more answering questions related to the topic of the video today generally. It's definitely an intuitive ability that could be construed as like either clairvoyance or precognizance. Let's see, I'm going to look at the time. It is about 1 o'clock. So at 1:05, 5 minutes. If no one has any questions or reading requests, then I will be ending the video. You're welcome, Carrie. I guess I'll take a moment to remind everyone, donations are optional, but I really appreciate them if anyone is inclined to donate or support me in that way. You can send donations through the PayPal link in the description of this video. I offer private and paid readings. If that interests you, feel free to message this page or my personal profile directly at any time. I offer a $10 mini reading special. My full readings are $80 an hour. Unless you're in the Creator Council of 12, then it's $60 an hour. And I offer a past life reading that is $160 flat for up to 2 hours. I also encourage everyone to follow my page if you liked this video, because there are more coming. Nearly every day I go on and do free mini readings, and I'm going to start doing a weekly live Q&A like this one about different subjects. And of course I have my moon candle rituals where I accept spell requests. Oh yeah, I nearly forgot. Soon I'm going to start doing like a daily video discussing an individual tarot card. Before I bridged into clairvoyance, I was a tarot reader for many years. So I'm intimately familiar with the cards, and I still use them to read for myself. So for those who follow the page, you have that to look forward to. I will be going through all 78 of the cards in tarot one day at a time. And there's a lot more other things coming, so that's the best way to keep updated with all the stuff that'll be happening.
The cider smells good.
Oh, cider's gonna be ready soon. James says, I don't really think my wife and I will be together again. Do you see that happening sometime in the near future, or should I move on? If so, do you see me meeting someone I can finally just be happy and spend the rest of my life with. That's all I ever wanted, and things just keep happening to end my relationships. Well, I will connect to your energy and see if I can get a little more insight about that. James Tregezer. Sorry, I forgot the pronunciation. Unfortunately, looking at you and your wife again, I would say that your feeling about it is probably correct. Obviously, the future is always being formed, so it's always possible to change it, but with the way things are currently progressing, I don't see you guys reconciling. Although, as I mentioned before, it is mostly to do with she has a kind of anger, resentment because you have continued to see her and treat her as the person you first met so very long ago, and she's changed tremendously since then. So it's like she doesn't feel like you really see her or listen to her. So of course, there's always the potential to kind of address that and the potential for things to turn out differently by working through that. So that is just based on the current progression. So what you want to do about it is up to you, ultimately. Honestly, it won't be easy, but that is just kind of the nature of relationships. Working through the different things is difficult, especially if the other person isn't necessarily interested in reconciling. I feel like there's a potential she could be open to it if you really demonstrated that a change on that subject. So I'm looking ahead for you, again, based on the current progression of events, how things will kind of unfold, and asking about you and future relationships. And it is important for you, as I mentioned before, to release your ideas about who your wife was so long ago and the attachment to that person back then. For your own sake, if nothing else, because what I see you doing is seeking in your future partners that person, trying to like recreate that original relationship and that dynamic, and still looking for that person in all these other people. So it's just a bit limiting. You know, this hadn't occurred to me before, but I think there's a potential that's not just being attached to who she was, but even more so like your idea of who she was, or to an idea of the person that you want to be with, or a prominent female figure in your life, which would also explain why she's so resentful about it, because there is like a feeling of never really pleasing you or living up to it. And so that would have influenced relationships before her and after her as well. It's like trying to find someone who fits this idea. I do see this fairly often where someone is looking for a relationship or a partner, and when I look at their energy, there's like almost like a thought form or energy composite of a person, and it's because they have such a strong idea of what they want or of the person they feel they should be with, that it's like that has been created in their energy, which means that there's not actually room for a real person in your life or your heart, because that space is already occupied by this idea. So I feel as though that is at least partially what is occurring. And I feel as though it may even be like negative expectations because of the way that this figure appears behind you. So I would say that resolving that for yourself will help. Hello, Candace. Hello, Chantel. James says, that does make a lot of sense. She's done a lot of things over a long period of time to hurt me in the past, and I've had a real hard time trusting her. I find it hard to believe that she changed and would never do anything to hurt me again. That is understandable. I mean, that is the thing. That would, that does fit. That does kind of fit like the particular kind of angry she's feeling. But trust is a hard thing. If you don't trust your partner, then it's just, you kind of have to decide. You just have to decide if you trust them or not, honestly. If you can't trust them, then you need to be honest that that's the way you feel. And sometimes it's not about whether or not they have actually changed. It's this thing of why would you want to be in a relationship with someone you don't or can't trust? And it's also not fair to the other person to be in a relationship with someone that doesn't trust them, regardless of whether or not it's justified or whether or not they have actually changed. It's just sort of like detrimental to both people when trust isn't there. So it's really just needing to decide if you're going to trust her or if you just can't. And trusting someone, you have to actually do it. So it means not looking and not asking, if you know what I mean. If you can't do that, you just have to be honest with yourself that you are not able to overcome that and trust her. And in that case, it serves you both better to let it go. Which is unfortunate, but if she is genuinely changed, then she can bring that into her next relationship where the trust will never be breached in the first place, and she can enjoy that. And then you are also free to find someone that you don't question. So it's just a choice you have to make, and you need to be honest with yourself and her. It's not fun for either person to be in that tug of war of I want to trust you but I can't, or you should trust me and you shouldn't hold my past transgressions about me. It's like, regardless of what's actually happening or who's actually honest or not, that's really what it boils down to and what you need to decide. So I hope that helps. It's a very quiet, calm, beautiful day outside.
A little bit breezy. Also, I got a hold of Box. I messed up with the computer. It should be fine once I get in there and screw with it.
I'm glad.
That's why I just messaged him.
Yeah. I'm glad that there is an easy solution, probably.
Yeah, there's a second set of ports that is actually tucked into the machine because of the advanced video card. It needs to be directly in the motherboard. So.
Oh, okay.
So I probably messed that up.
Let's see. James says, that is true. I think it may be best for us both if I just let go and move on. She is borderline personality disorder, and I've been told she will never stop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's definitely better to let this one go.
For both of your sakes.
For both of your sakes.
That's for the best. BPD is very difficult and a huge struggle.
Just remember, part of finding that forever partner is changing your expectations of a partner. Don't look for damaged people. Don't have that expectation that they're going to need to be fixed. Don't have that expectation of betrayal. Put all that aside and remember that you're worthy of the greatest love of all.
Yeah.
And seek it.
What the figure by him is. It's like negative.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm putting it out there.
Yeah, negative expectation seeking difficult partners. Yeah. So it is a tremendous struggle. It's also not your responsibility to help her through that.
We have a lot of friends that do that.
Yeah. I'm very familiar with a handful of specific disorders. So it is very difficult for the person with it, and it's kind of part of the disorder to be unstable, like in one's relationships, and to be kind of inconsistent. But it's not your responsibility to fix it. And it is possible for her to change and for people with that issue to change, but it is harder. But it is possible. But again, for both of your sakes, since you're in this place, it's better to set both of you free. It's good for you both. Yeah. Hello, Becky. James says, it sucks 'cause we have kids together and I would love to save my family, but it's been extremely difficult. I think you're right. I need to let go. That does suck. But children don't do well in stressful environments.
Divorce can be very difficult for kids, but the stress of watching the two of you deteriorate over a longer period of time will be a lot harder for them to deal with.
Yeah.
And they're also going to learn negative habits and behaviors from the two of you and the way you handle each other.
Yes. So it's kind of hard no matter what, but it is better than the alternative. So it's just important to treat each other with as much consideration and civility as you can. And you are giving your children an important lesson about healthy relationships and doing what's best for yourself, even when it's hard to do, instead of just bearing with. So I don't know if it would help you to think of it as providing an example. If you stay, then the example you could be providing is that you stay in relationships that hurt you, which is not a good lesson. And I think it also teaches them something about humanity and accepting people as they are. Because even though things have been difficult between you and your wife, it can be, even though it's difficult, it can be okay for you to separate. And it's okay for them to love her still and to love you still, in spite of whatever happened. Oh, she okay? James says, that's why I held on for so long. I saw hope and believed she could change, but she never really tried. That is unfortunate. So there's something powerful in just accepting someone for who they are, but also making the best decision for yourself.
And for her.
And for her.
There could be someone out there that is able to support her in every way. Someone with the knowledge or tenacity or the ability, someone who's got more experience with it. It is giving her the opportunity to find someone who, I'll just say, there is someone out there who can handle her as she is better and healthier than you are. But that comes from both sides. It comes from that lack of trust that's already been built in your relationship. And both of you have other options out there.
Yeah. So.
Tookie. Sorry, I'm eavesdropping because I'm having my lunch and playing with my little Tookie. My little Tookie.
So I hope that helps, and it is an unfortunate situation, but you can make it a growing experience. I'm going to show you guys this real quick because it's cute.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Get the punch. Oh, no, not the punch. Get that. Punch. Oh, no, not the punch. Oh, you got my ring. You got me by the ring. Oh, no, now what? Oh, no, now what? Get your baby face. I got it. No, don't pet me. I don't want your love. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Yes, I do. I'm a baby.
No. That's her annoyed tail flick. No, she's just feisty.
Feisty, baby.
All right, I'm gonna flip us back around. They're just too cute. I'm not sure. James says, yes, I didn't handle things as well as I could have because at first I had no idea what was going on. I ended up with betrayal, trauma, PTSD from it pretty bad. Yeah. That's okay. I just adjust and do what's best for yourself now. Well. Yes. I'm still open to answering any last few questions or reading for one more person specifically on the subject of relationships, twin flame, soulmates, etc. So I'll give people a minute to ask things if they would like.
Buggy Boo!
You're welcome, James. She is so cute. I can't read for you, Becky. Did you have a specific question concerning relationships, etc.? I don't think so. It's a bit slow. And I'm kind of like at the end. So I'll read for you and conclude the video. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I'm watching the cat. Chantal asks, can it be more than a friendship? James says, I love cats. Your kitty is very cute. She is.
You.
Thank you.
Our cats are our children.
Yeah, they're very spoiled. They're very spoiled to get everything they want. Everything.
No.
Even beat up mama time. Yeah.
We're playing. See if Freddie has a question. Others I would be reading about relationships generally, I guess. E came back after months away. I remember being asked about it before, but I don't actually remember any of my readings about it, which is probably just as well. Just love relationships in general, I suppose. So Becky will be my last reading, and then we will be saying goodbye after that. Oh,
You what we needed. We need a mouse.
all right. I'm connecting to your energy. I think I will look at love generally first. There's this sense of standstill. I see an image of you standing and at your feet is this like brick or stone path. It's like being in a town square, yet also reminiscent of like the yellow brick road, where it's kind of the idea of you're at the center. And to get somewhere, like anywhere, or to get towards what you want, or to move at all from your current state, all you have to do is move like in any direction. It's just a sense of standing still in the center, kind of at a loss. Changes a little as I focus in. So now it's like definitively a town square. So it's like a center with roads leading out in all directions from you. And you have a blindfold on and you're holding a large axe. Makes me think almost of like a blind executioner. It's just a little strange. Changes it a little because it's like a standing still because you can't really see, and that's why you don't really know where to go or that there is a way to go. Just really confused about the axe. It's like you're clutching onto it. It's almost like you're supposed to do something with it, or you've been given it to do something. There's like a vague idea of an executioner stage off to the side, like a man ready to be disposed of. And it's almost like the sense of putting an end to something. It feels kind of off, like as if the thing you ought to do is to, speaking within context of the imagery, just put the axe down and remove the blindfold and like walk away from what's happening. It's almost like while you are blindfolded in this state of not really being able to see or have clarity, this expectation was put on you to end something or cut yourself off from something, which adds to your confusion. And it would be better to not really worry about that, to set that aside, and to find a way to become unblinded and to kind of not get involved with whatever this thing is, the execution, putting an end to something, just going the opposite way. Boy, that is potentially vague.
Can I look on Amazon for something to help me with this issue?
Yes.
It's the third one this month.
Let's see, Becky says, so don't put an end to something. It's not just that, it's kind of like ironically deciding to put an end to something or cut off from it is still getting too involved. The best thing would be to get away from it completely, like not even engage it long enough to cut off from it or them, depending. There's an inclination to say E is the man on the execution stage, but it could be a reference to something else. It's just sort of like a distraction beside the point. Interesting nuance. Not even ending it or cutting off from that person or situation is still too much involvement. It's just like a not a good expenditure of your time, focus, or energy. Better served elsewhere. Trying to alleviate whatever it is that keeps you from seeing. Because I feel that this pertains to you overall, not just romantically, and choosing a direction and going. It feels as though the blindfold is something put on yourself. Like not, I don't know that it's that you don't want to see, it's like just not feeling ready. Having needed time to be internal and to not see, if that makes sense. But it's kind of starting to go to the point where it's no longer helpful. I'm following the imagery of you walking out of the town square and you go to the ports and get on a ship and sail away. I'm glad it makes sense. And there's a distinct feeling of like meeting new people, new romantic interests. It's almost like you get on a pirate ship and fall in love with the handsome pirate captain. So there's definitely more out there in your future waiting for you. And what I really get is a desire for a man who is passionate and doesn't leave you questioning how he feels about you ever. And someone who's going the same way as you, and who perhaps even opens you up to different things, like a sense of the unknown and adventure. So that is what I sense. I do hope it helps. That concludes your mini reading. Alright, everyone. I'm going to conclude our video. I'd like to thank everyone for joining my Q&A today. It's been fun. I hope and helpful and insightful to everyone. I will see you guys again later. And Becky, I'm glad it was helpful, and you're welcome. Final reminder to all, message me directly anytime if you're interested in private and paid readings. I recommend following my page so you stay updated about events and things I'm doing. And donations are optional. However, I super appreciate them. Anyone who's inclined to do so, you can do so through the PayPal link in the description of this video. Thank you very much. It's been fun. Be blessed and have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you, James. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye.